Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you in virtual gathering. um, I'm finding, as probably many, if not all of you are, how discovering how precious it is to be actually in the presence of people, as I am unable to experience that, and excuse me, really looking forward to the time when we can gather again, and so grateful for this opportunity to be here in shared time and an extended space. It really does expand our sense of what it means to gather and to be together as Sangha. I hope you're staying curious and engaged in your practice. I hope that you're really digging into your practice and discovering new things. It can be challenging. I'm sure it is very challenging. It's challenging for me, and I'm continually, kind of grounding myself in the steadiness and stability of my practice. So grateful for that, and for my sense of connection with Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I think that it's like in a way we're all on extended retreat. We're all experiencing this solitude. It's not necessarily isolation. It doesn't have to be. It's physical isolation, but we are experiencing this removal of from engagement in the kind of the activities of our lives, and this can, as many people have are discovering and are speaking to me about it, and I'm experiencing it as well. It really is an opportunity to look at our minds, look at our emotions, bring compassion, bring insight, bring wisdom, cultivate patience, and cultivate kindness, generosity, finding different ways to be generous. As I've been talking about, over the course of a number of these YouTube gatherings, is how clearly we can feel the collective body, the collective being of humanity, our human family, and really practicing that sense of taking care of ourselves for the benefit of others, taking care of not only our physical well-being, but our hearts, our minds, and it doesn't mean that when fear comes up, or when frustration comes up, or when sadness, grief come up, all kinds of difficult things, that we repress them or push them away. Au contraire, on the contrary, we really need to acknowledge and make space for and attend to the emotions and the mental states that arise that can cause suffering and do cause suffering. So So it's really taking care of ourselves for the benefit of others, means nourishing our practice, being honest, being open and present to ourselves and to others. And for those of you who are listening, sorry, I got distracted by the live chat. Yeah, for those of you who are living in the company of others, so some of you are living with a partner, or some of you are living with families. Some may be living with extended families, and so it's really an opportunity to bring that mindfulness into relationships as well, because we're all feeling a little vulnerable, and it's really time to bring that wise attention, to be skillful in our speech, skillful in our actions, especially considerate in and how we are toward each other. So because we all need that. We all need that care. So, so I'm going to begin to guide a meditation. So let's kind of stop saying hi to each other. Just letting that go for now. And really glad to see all the different names. It's really lovely to see all those little emojis and greetings. It's beautiful. You know, when I teach in the Sunday at Yoga in the Park studio on Sundays, which I'm looking forward to doing again as soon as possible. There is a lovely sense of community, and there are greetings, and people chat and catch up with each other, and so that's really a very special thing. And then, so it's time to begin the practice. So that's what we're doing now. So let's just kind of turn our attention inward. You can take whatever posture you feel is supportive to your practice. It could be sitting in a chair. It could be on the floor, on a cushion or a bench. It could be lying down. It could be standing. So as you take your posture and settle into your bringing attention to your body and bringing your body to a stable and upright position, or if you're lying down, that your spine is in alignment. We can bring an intention to begin the practice. So however you might articulate this intention to commit to beginning again, to develop your practice for your own support, your own benefit, and for the benefit of all the other beings with whom you are in relationship, in widening circles, because of course ultimately we are in relationship with all beings. So beginning with this intention and commitment, however you might express it, however you might bring in the ways that you perhaps get drawn from the present moment, attention to the present moment, and you might want to name that, to when you notice that you're getting caught up in worrying or get caught up in struggle, somehow struggling, or self-blame, or whatever it is that we get caught up in, that you'll just put that aside, let it go, and come back to being present in the body and in the breath. And bringing attention to how the posture feels. Noticing, are you feeling stable and steady? Making any adjustments that are needed so that you feel that you are well positioned to practice for the next 30 minutes or so in this meditation. Feeling the body sitting stable on the earth and bringing an upright energy to the spine, lifting from the base of the spine through the crown of the head. And feeling the energy and the strength of that backbone. And around that central axis of the spine, let the whole body relax. To invite the face to relax. The eyes can close or can be partly closed with the gaze downward and soft. The shoulders are straight and relaxed. The hands resting on the thighs or folded in the lap. Bringing your attention into the chest, inviting the heart to relax. Inviting the abdomen to relax. Letting the arms relax, just be heavy and resting wherever they are resting. The legs also and feet relaxed. Notice the rise and fall of the breath, or you may feel it as the air moving in and out of the nostrils. Wherever you feel the breath, whether it's in a more precise location or if it's a more general feeling of the body moving as the air enters and leaves the body. Bring attention to that flow of the breath. That expression of interdependence. That experience of impermanence. flow of breath. Let the breath gather the mind, which may be restless and scattered, may be anxious, may feel heavy, sad. Let the breath, the mindful attention to the breath, just gather the attention, gather the energies of the mind, gather them in. And it's not a matter of any kind of perfection of practice. It's just an invitation to come home to the body, come home and rest. Come home to be present in the body. And bring a quality of energy to your practice. It's not an energy which is a striving. It's an energy which is invitational. Remembering to let go. Letting go of the drivenness, the compulsion to go over and over again various thoughts that may inhabit the mind. It's an invitation to let go and rest in the breath, rest in the body. just for one breath at a time, one moment at a time. As your attention becomes a bit more collected, not speaking about perfection, but just a little bit more settled, allow your mindfulness to extend to a sense of the whole body sitting, the whole body lying down. A sense of presence in the whole body. So if your focus is very narrow, precise, feeling the breath in a very precise way, I invite you, and of course it's you practice as you think is most appropriate for you. But I invite you to explore opening up your awareness, your mindful presence to the whole body, a sense of being present in the body. So kind of stretching to this middle lens. So it's not a wide open kind of lens where there's no connection to the body. There's just a kind of a wide open awareness. And it's not a very, very precise and narrow focus, but it's a kind of a middle lens of being present in the body. Explore how the body feels from the inside. Maybe there are places where it feels contracted. And you can invite a letting go, a relaxation. If there's a tightness around the heart or in the throat or in the belly, you can use the breath, make skillful use of the breath to let go. And it may not let go, and that's okay. It's always an invitation. We're not in control. We're simply inviting. Our meditation doesn't need to be passive. It can be skillful. It can be informed by the instructions that we've received. At the same time, it's not striving to make something happen as we preconceive it should be happening. So I invite you to explore this presence in the whole body. A presence which is filled with goodwill and interest, non-judging, acceptance. Inviting the body to become more calm, more still, more relaxed. Relaxed and at the same time energized and attentive, awake. as you bring mindfulness to the whole body, inviting a letting go in the body. You might notice experiences, perhaps a place in the body that feels kind of well-being, or calmness, or stillness, relaxation, a sense of relief, release, perhaps even joy, contentment. It's good to notice these beautiful gifts and developments of meditation practice, because they're very nourishing to our practice and to our whole being. It's wholesome to notice them and to take in this experience of well-being. In the mindfulness in the body discourse, the Buddha speaks about the development of mindfulness in the body, mindfulness with the body, as moving toward the body being filled with bright attention. Body filled with bright attention. There's a quality of light, lightness, of well-being, of joy in that statement. It doesn't mean that every sensation in the body should be a pleasant one. There is a dwelling, an abiding in the body that supports a sense of well-being. And so notice if there are little kind of emerging experience of well-being in the body. And appreciate them. let's let's bring to mind as we complete this the sitting part of our time together. Let's bring to mind people that we know or we know of who may be sick, may be dying, may be bereaved. Let's bring to mind people who may be living in fear, including ourselves. Let's bring to mind people who are experiencing hardship of any kind, financial hardship, feeling of isolation, feeling of emotional instability. Let's gather in with compassion all of these human siblings, this traditional greeting of the Buddha, that we are all siblings in birth, aging, illness, and death. And so let's gather in our whole human family, as well as all non-human beings and the earth herself, who supports our whole life, with love and with compassion, and dedicate the goodness of our practice in our lives to the well-being, the health, the happiness and liberation of all beings everywhere. Thank you for your practice. I heard a commentator say, I think it was a psychologist or psychiatrist, say that as a society, as we progress through and then come to the end of the pandemic, it will come to an end. That we will collectively be in a state of PTSD. And I think that that our practice can help us to avoid that, because PTSD is not inevitable. We can also discover new resilience coming through really shocking and challenging times where there's a lot of loss and where we feel that what supports us in our lives is being undermined, is being shifted. The ground is moving under us, and there's a real sense of loss of the supports of how we create our understanding of who we are and what we are and how we live our lives. So it's not inevitable that, and I'm not saying this with judgment. If somebody's feeling traumatized, that's that's understandable. And also as we can help to mitigate that by staying present in the body, by being attentive in the body to when we are contracting, when we're closing up, when fear is overtaking us, when we feel that we're closing down and becoming paralyzed, or there's 4 responses: fight, flee, freeze, and I'm not remembering the 4th one. Maybe somebody remembers. It's expanded as well as our understanding of trauma has expanded. So our practice, our being present to ourselves, our coming home to the body, our invitation to let the body feel what it feels, is really a way to take care of ourselves. Something that comes to mind, fawn. Somebody's saying fawn, so not sure, but okay. Thank you. Something that's come to mind, a teaching that's come to mind in these days is a teaching on the bardo that I heard from a Tibetan Lama that I practiced with. His name is Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. And this teaching said, if you want to, in a way where we're all dying, I mean, we're always all dying, because we're moving toward death. Our lives are of a limited span, and so death is part of life. And we are very present with death in this pandemic, with the awareness of the danger of the coronavirus, and aware of our vulnerability. We're all vulnerable, and some of us are especially vulnerable if we have compromised immune systems or underlying conditions, or we're older, or we're living in poverty, or in some way just not able to shelter ourselves and take care of ourselves to the optimum degree. So there are many vulnerable people, and we're just very aware of that, aware of our own vulnerability, and so it's a kind of a really an opportunity to contemplate death, and in a way open to the reality and accept that, which doesn't take away the beauty of living and the importance of living. And so anyway, this the teaching that Tenzin Rinpoche gave was, if you want to know how you will enter into the process of dying and into the bardo, which in some forms of Buddhism, and I'm not saying espousing this as a belief, but just as a way of contemplating. The bardo is kind of the the interim between death and birth. So if you want to understand how you will enter into the bardo, then observe how you are moving between one activity to the next activity, or from a particular focus of your attention to the next one. So we're going through many bardos in our daily lives. Many times when our attention goes from being collected and focused in a particular way, and it's important to notice how we focus our attention as well, and what we bring to it, what quality of attention we bring to it, whether it's a conversation or washing the dishes. So that's mindfulness practice. And then we move to something else, but there's that in-between time. And this is a kind of an in-between time, an extended in-between time, because, we were going about our daily lives in a very, I don't want to generalize because everybody's life is different, but there's certain structures in our lives and so on. And then, the rug was pulled out, or the tidal wave came in, and so everything has changed. And so how are we in that? And this is, or we are feeling frightened and needing to hoard, feeling a need to build up and hoard, and not thinking of the needs of others, or noticing the impulse of generosity, the impulse of compassion, the heart reaching out with kindness and concern to be connected with others. So watering those beautiful seeds of kindness and compassion and generosity, and recognizing, the suffering of the kind of this turning in to the self, noticing, the teaching of the bardo is to recognize that whatever appears is mind created. So recognizing that the fear is mind created, recognizing that the greed or the resentment or the anger is mind created. And how can we, with kindness, with skill, respond to those, not with judgment, but with giving space for them to be known, be let go. So, I'd like to invite your comments, your questions, your thoughts. I see my sister's joined the group. Hi, Joyce. So that's lovely. She's down in Florida. I'd like to invite any comments, questions that you may have that you'd like to share. How are you experiencing, how are you practicing with this? What's difficult, what's supportive? how how are you reflecting on this? What are you learning? What are you discovering in your life, in your heart? How can this be a time to really to live as fully and deeply and creatively as you can? So I'm just gonna wait for a moment, because I know sometimes it takes a moment for something to pop up. Does anything that I mentioned resonate for you, or do questions come up? Yeah, yeah. I think that somebody talked about questioning their motives, um, and so self doubt. As she has a kind of an interest in reaching out and offering help. So I think that it's important to like, perfectionism is really an enemy of the good. Like, it's an expression. I'm not sure where it's from, but I think it's really really apt, that really deep, in fact, that the perfect is the enemy of the good. That if, like, so let's just show up as who we are, and if we have a generous impulse, that we don't have to put a self on top of it. We can just trust that. And I mean, as long as we're not imposing ourselves, and not that we are always asking permission, that we're always reaching out and doing something in relationship with others. If we like, we can ask somebody if they would like us to pick up groceries for them, or if they're okay, or just call somebody and check in and say, I'm just thinking about you, and we just want to check and see if you're okay. And that's, it doesn't, and then we don't have to put a self on that. We can trust the generous impulse, trust the loving impulse. So yeah. So somebody's saying, somebody's saying that after the meditation, he felt this sadness come up, and tears came, and it took some time to cry, and that's actually, I think, really healthy. That when we allow the sadness to move through us, when we're in touch with the heart, we're opening to the heart, we're acknowledging, there's grief that's coming up. There's grief that, there's a lot of suffering. It's not just personal. I mean, we are feeling this collective, and we are feeling the loss and grief, and maybe we've experienced loss ourselves. Somebody mentioned, I think it was last week, that somebody that they knew had died, and that brings it very close to home. So the grief is real, and tears are natural, and they're normal, and they allow us to feel it and to release it. And so being strong doesn't mean not crying. Being strong can mean allowing ourselves to cry, allowing ourselves to grieve, and at the same time not getting lost in it. So staying present in the grief, and as we notice that there's a space in the grief and something else is emerging, that being present to that too, noticing that when we're present to the fear, and then something else may emerge. Maybe there may be a sense of resilience, or there may be a sense of acceptance or openness, or open-heartedness. So yeah, somebody's asking how to talk about the questioning that maybe this is all some kind of hoax or social experiment. I don't know. Honestly, I personally don't feel drawn to talk about that or address that. I don't feel I need to address the extremes of bizarre ideas that pop up around. So that, in a way, yeah, I would. So my thought is not to address it, not to engage it, but just to recognize that it's an expression of delusion. So yeah, so thank you so much for being present and sharing the practice and being present to one another, and I so feel your presence and appreciate your presence, and I encourage you to keep showing up and practicing. So I want to also mention that there's an opportunity, an invitation to us offer support, dana, giving in the tradition of Buddhism, to both me and to support me in my teaching, and to support True North Insight in the offering of these teachings with a number of different teachers, and to stay tuned on the website to see that we're trying to create some kind of regularity, but there are also always new offerings. So please keep your rainbow kind of shining in the sky and in your heart. So blessings and love, and be well, and be safe, and for yourself and for the benefit of all beings. So, and bye for now.